Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of meta setups to show you here today. 5 of my favorite weapons to use here in Season 1, and we are going to be starting out with the Model L here. A few things to go over real quick, though, is we're going to have 5 attachments that we put on it first, which is going to be the 5 attachment build, and then we are going to add upon that with 2 or 3 attachments to make it a gunfighter build. So it's a best of both worlds if you like to use perk greed or if you like to use gunfighter. I have a class set up on all 5 of these weapons here today with both of those things. So to get into it with the Model L, the very first thing we're going to be throwing on here is the Merlin Mini. This is my go-to optic on literally every single weapon, and it's just absolutely amazing. You need to give it a try. If you are playing Warzone, I do recommend just going straight down to the Willis 3X. This would be my favorite scope for long-range battles and Warzone. So if that's what you're into, definitely try this one out instead. The second attachment here, also just a super important attachment to put on a lot of your weapons, is going to be the muzzle. The compensator is such a staple attachment to a lot of weapons because of the recoil control that you get out of it. You are going to get a ton of vertical recoil control, but not only that, also recoil gun kick. You're going to gain 35% of both of those, and if you did not know, recoil gun kick is the visual recoil while shooting, and that is a very nice thing to also reduce down. The third attachment here is going to be a barrel, and the one that we decided to put on is the reinforced barrel. This is one I've been using in recent times. It's really good. It is a best of both worlds of gain twist barrel and long barrel. They just kind of combined it both together into one, and this is going to give you bullet velocity and damage range. So you're going to get a nice 25% of bullet velocity, which is pretty much making it easier for you to hit the enemy in their general direction. And obviously that drop off period is going to be a lot further, so you can play on longer range maps and Warzone without your bullets dropping off and getting weaker. The fourth attachment here, another super important one, is going to be the underbarrel, and we're going to throw on this very first one, the vertical foregrip. You could put on the Ranger foregrip. I know a lot of people like that one as well, but I've been going with the vertical foregrip as it does give you a crazy amount of recoil control. And towards the other side of things, the horizontal, when we just added to the vertical with the compensator, now you're adding 40% to the horizontal, so you are making this thing an absolute laser. And then the fifth attachment to put on here to top it off, to make this thing an absolute beam, we're going to be throwing on the recoil springs. The recoil springs is a great one as it all around just gives you a boost to all of the recoil, gun kick, horizontal, and vertical recoil, the most important things in accuracy, 10% across the board there. Now to get into the gunfighter side of things, we're going to be putting on our sixth attachment here, and it's going to be the extended mags 2. You could also go with the extended mags 1 if you don't like how heavy a gun feels. If you want your gun to feel a little lighter, you could definitely just go with extended mags 1 on any of these setups, but I've been really enjoying the biggest mag that you can put on a lot of these guns, so I can get a crazy amount of feeds. This one right here actually gives you 50 rounds. Like I was saying, the gun does get heavier, your reload's going to get slower, you're going to lose 7% aim down sight speed and 11% sprint to fire speed, but I never worry about that because my next attachments usually bring that right back. With that said, the rear grip that we're going to be throwing on here today is the commando grip, and this is going to give you aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed back. So that's really good. You're gaining 16% aim down sight speed and 21% sprint to fire speed out of this attachment. So that's why I said it doesn't even matter when you make this gun heavier, you're just going to get it right back with the rear grip. And then our final attachment here on the Model L is going to be a stock, and the one that I love putting on is the balanced stock. This gives you a number of movement things. In mobility, you're going to gain 11% movement speed, 17% crouch movement speed, and 10% aim walking movement speed, just all around making this gun feel amazing. The next weapon here, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the SAUG, and this is a gun I've been getting killed by a lot in my game, so it is quite annoying to go against, but hey, here we are creating a setup because this is a meta SMG in the game currently, and the first attachment we're going to be throwing on is the muzzle, and again, it's going to be the compensator. The compensator is a great first attachment to be throwing on this. You're going to get amazing vertical recoil control of 30% and 27% to your recoil gun kick. The second attachment we're going to be throwing on here is the long barrel. The long barrel is going to give you the most amount of damage range that you can get out of this. Obviously, you can throw on the reinforced barrel, but this one's going to be a little bit of shorter range, but it will give you bullet velocity. So if you feel like you're having trouble shooting in the general direction of your enemy and not hitting your shots, I would put on the reinforced barrel, but we are using the long barrel today as this does give you some pretty good damage range for this weapon. It's going to be good on those mid-range maps and not only close quarters. The next attachment here is going to be an underbarrel, and it is going to be the vertical foregrip again, as this is going to help the other side of the weapon. Like I said, the horizontal is going to get some love. Now you're going to get 35% horizontal recoil control and an additional 4% to your recoil gun kick. Our next attachment is going to be pretty important on this build because this gun is going to run out of ammo very quickly. With our setup, I would recommend throwing on the extended mags 2, as this is going to give you 50 rounds in the mag, but of course this is going to make the gun a bit slower. Your reload's going to get slower, you're going to lose 10% aim down sight speed and 17% sprint to fire speed. But again, when it comes to extended mags on SMGs, it really doesn't matter because the guns are super light. You can add a little weight to the weapon, but we'll still have attachments that fix that later in the setup as well. The fifth attachment that we actually have on here today is going to be the rapid fire attachment. This is going to turn it into an absolute machine, just mowing all the enemies down very very quickly. Obviously, if you have trouble controlling the rapid fire attachment, you can put on the recoil springs instead, but I was having a ton of fun with rapid fire. It's going to be very devastating on close quarter maps. But with that said, it is going to do a number of things to your weapon. Your fire rate obviously is going to go up 12%. Bolt velocity is going to go down a little bit, and then down in the accuracy, some of your recoil stuff is going to get a little crazier. But like I said, you can just throw on recoil springs if it is trouble to you. Moving over to the gunfighter side of things on the SAUG, we're going to be adding our 6th attachment here, and it is going to be a rear grip, the assault grip. This attachment right here is going to give you a really good amount of sprint to fire speed, which I find to be very, very important. You don't really need any extra aim down sight speed on this weapon, and I think running and gunning with this is going to be a lot of fun with that extra 31%. Our next attachment is going to be a stock, and we have this second one on here right here, the infiltrator stock, and this is also going to help out some of that movement stuff. You're going to get aim walking movement speed of 20% in mobility, which makes this gun even faster to use. And then the final attachment is optional. You can throw on a laser, and I would throw on the target laser, as this is going to help that aiming idle sway of 126%. You don't have to put this on if you don't want your enemy seeing your laser. I usually keep it off, but you could put it on. Our next weapon here, number 3, the XM4, one of my personal favorite guns to use and my most used weapon in the game currently. We're going to be starting out with the 5 attachment build. That is going to be the Merlin Mini. Once again, I really love this optic. Of course, you can put on that Willis 3X if you're playing Warzone, like I said in the first weapon. This one is what I'm going to use though for my build. Once again, for the next attachment, it's going to be the compensator. No surprise here. The compensator is going to give you that vertical recoil control as well as the recoil gun kick. You're going to get 35% vertical and 31% recoil gun kick. Once again, with our 3rd attachment on the barrel, we are going to be throwing on the reinforced barrel, so we get a best of both worlds of gain twist and long barrel, getting that bolt velocity of 20%, making this gun easier to hit the enemy, as well as your gun hitting at further ranges. This is going to be very, very devastating on those mid to long range maps with that extra range. And we have for our 4th attachment, the vertical foregrip. The vertical foregrip once again is helping out that horizontal side of things of 40%, and you're going to gain an additional 6% to recoil gun kick, making this thing an absolute beam. Our 5th attachment today here on the XM4 is going to be the combat stock. The combat stock does give you flinch resistance and aim walking movement speed, so that's pretty good. But also you are going to notice that this does make your recoil a little less too, even though it doesn't show anything statistically. This does help out the weapon a little bit on that. That aim walking movement speed though in mobility of 11% is really, really good. Now to get into the gunfighter side of things, our next attachment here is going to be the extended mags 2. This right here is going to give you 60 rounds in the mag. If you're feeling pretty crazy, you could definitely throw on the extended mags 3 for 100 rounds. And also in Warzone, this might go pretty crazy. If you'd like to throw this on, you can, but your gun's going to be very, very heavy. So that's why I go with the middle ground of the extended mags 2, as this is going to make me have a slower reload, 8% aim down sight speed, 11% sprint fire speed. For the rear grip that we are using today, it is going to be the very last one, the CQB grip, and this is going to give you a number of speed things in handling. You are going to gain 29% sprint to fire speed and 50% slide to fire speed, so you're going to be moving with this weapon. Our 8th attachment here is going to be rapid fire. Again, if you're having trouble with the rapid fire, you could throw on recoil springs, but even with rapid fire, this thing is an absolute beam. I really don't have any trouble using it, and this just literally melts the enemy competition. I have a lot of fun with it, especially on Nuketown. If you play Nuketown a lot, this thing is going to be super crazy and probably annoy the enemy. So with that said, your recoil control and accuracy is going to go down a little bit across the board there, but your fire rate is going to go up very nicely. For our 4th weapon of the video, we are going to be using the TANTO 22. The TANTO 22 SMG is a very slow fire rate SMG, but very deadly. And of course, the first attachment we're going to throw on here is the compensator. This is going to be very, very helpful because this gun has a crazy amount of recoil because of how much power it packs. This is going to help out tremendously. 30% vertical recoil control and 27% recoil gun kick is also going to be super important because this thing has a lot of visual recoil as well. The second attachment here today, just like my last SMG, is going to be the long barrel, so I can get the most out of my damage range and play on those mid-range maps with no problem, or Warzone. If you do want to use this in Warzone, it would be helpful. But again, you could throw on the reinforced barrel if you need that bullet velocity. For our underbarrel, we're actually using the Ranger foregrip this time. Like I said, sometimes it's just better to use the Ranger foregrip, or you can use the vertical foregrip if you need more recoil control. The Ranger foregrip is going to give us 2% recoil gun kick and 15% to horizontal recoil control. While down in mobility, you are going to gain 5% to your sprinting movement speed. The 4th attachment here on our TANTO is going to be the heavy stock. The heavy stock is going to add a good amount of flinch resistance, so when your enemy does shoot you, the flinch resistance of your gun kicking up isn't going to be that much at all. And this is just also going to help out overall your recoil control on this weapon. You can throw on the balanced stock if you'd like to have more mobility, but I don't really see it necessary on this SMG. The 5th attachment here today is going to be recoil springs, and I do recommend throwing on recoil springs instead of rapid fire. I have tested out rapid fire, and this gun just shoots all over the place nice. It feels kind of crazy, and you probably don't want to have that. Throw on the recoil springs. This is going to top off that recoil control of 8% across the board of recoil, gun kick, horizontal, and vertical recoil. Now, if you're looking for the gunfighter build, we are going to get into the next attachment for that. Today here we have the extended mags 2 on, but I also do recommend if you want to throw on the extended mags 1, you can, because of the slow fire rate. You don't need a crazy amount of ammo. I like to put on the biggest mags and just keep going with my feeds, so that's why I have the 50 round on today. And of course, this is going to make my reload slower, 10% aim down sight speed, and 17% sprint to fire speed. But with that said, we do put on the rear grip, the commando grip, which is going to bring back some of that aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed of 11 and 12%. And finally here for our last attachment on the Tanto, it's going to be the target laser. If there's any laser at all that I'm throwing on my weapon, it's the target laser. So just know that all of these other lasers are just for like hip fire things and whatnot. This is going to be for aiming idle sway, which is helping out your accuracy a bit more, 141%. Our fifth and final weapon here today is going to be the AS Val. This is one of my favorite and most fun weapons to use on close quarters. It just melts the enemy competition. The first attachment we're going to be jumping into here is going to be the suppressed reinforced barrel. This has a built-in suppressor, so you're technically getting an extra attachment out of this. And as you know, the reinforced barrel is also going to give you that bullet velocity of 30% and some crazy damage range, so your bullets don't drop off. And then obviously you don't actually pop up on the mini map with the suppressor. For our underbarrel, the second attachment is going to be the vertical foregrip. Once again, this is going to help out that horizontal, giving you 40% horizontal and 2% recoil gun kick. This weapon actually shoots extremely fast, so in our 5 attachment build, we definitely have the extended mags 3 on. And even the extended mags 3 is only 45 rounds, unfortunately. I don't know why they don't have a bigger mag for this gun. Maybe some balancing things, because this gun is pretty crazy. Obviously, with the extended mags 3, you're going to have a pretty slow reload. You're going to lose 13% aim down sight speed and 22% sprint to fire speed. The next attachment here today is going to be no stock. No stock is going to help out a lot of our movement things with this weapon quite a lot. You're going to get 21% movement speed and 34% crouch movement speed, being able to move around the map very quickly. The fifth attachment here is going to be the recoil springs. The recoil springs is going to top off that recoil control kind of pretty crazy compared to some of the other recoil springs. You're going to get 20% recoil gun kick, 10% horizontal, and 20% vertical recoil. This is a very solid attachment to put on. Now in the gunfighter build, we are going to be throwing on the rear grip, which is the very last one here, the CQB grip. As you know, this is going to give you handling of 27% sprint to fire speed and 60% slide to fire speed. This is a very crazy attachment for the handling. And then finally, once again, with the laser, we are throwing on the target laser to get that aiming idle sway of 126%. I don't put an optic on this. I actually like the iron sight, so there's only 7 attachments with this build. Now, if you guys are looking for perks, there's a number of ways to create it. If you're looking for the ranked playway, you're definitely going to want to throw on flat jacket, fast hands, double time, and usually if you're going to use perk greed, you'll throw on the 4th perk of ninja. If you're playing Warzone, I'd probably go through the blue set of perks and put on like vigilance, forward intel, and you could put on ghost or ninja, whichever one, probably ghost, so you can get that set of perks and the bonus with that as well. Now, the perks that I use in multiplayer, because I like to go for nukes and high kill streaks, I like to use scavenger, assassin, and bankroll, so I can get my score streaks easier. I also get that bonus of enforcer. Those are the 3 different sets of perks that you could try out. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you did enjoy these 5 class setups. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to let me know down below in the comments what you'd like to see next, and also subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.